Hi everyone, I'm Melissa J. Nixon, and there's one big question that most people have for their life, and that's what's next? What's next for your career and what's next for your business? And there are two things that typically get in the way of you moving forward with that. The first is going to be your confidence in order to step out and do it. The second is always going to be the how-to. And those are the very two things that I work with organizations as well as leaders and entrepreneurs in order to do. I want to help you build your confidence and figure out the steps to help you determine what's next for your life. You can follow me and learn more at melissajnixon.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Hi, welcome to this episode of the Kingdom View. We're going to be talking about stress-free living and how to have more peace in your life. So make sure you stay tuned and come right back.
Today we're talking about stress-free living and how to have more peace in your life.
Amen.
And as we were preparing the topics for this month, and we were going to be talking about decluttering and spring cleaning, I thought, there's some other things in our life sometimes we have to declutter so we can have stress-free living. And everybody wants to have a stress-free life.
Right.
I know.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
First of all, we should have been having this at the spa.
Yes, yes. Next time we'll be filming at the spa when we're talking about stress-free and peace. But Philippians 4:7 says, "And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." And then there's also a story in Mark 4:39, and it talks about he rose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. So many don't understand that the power that they have to speak peace into situations. Therefore, they're living more stressed out, more stretched thin. They're always on their last nerve.
Or on someone else's last nerve.
Or somebody else's last nerve. But God keeps speaking peace to us. And I remember when I was young, there was two things that I really prayed for. And the only thing I can think is that my grandmother may have helped me or she tutored me a lot in prayer, and she taught me how to pray, is I always prayed for wisdom. Because I knew the story of Solomon, so I always prayed for wisdom. But then I always prayed for peace. And so even when it seems like there's storms all around, God has always just given me a supernatural peace. But I must admit that through the years, I've learned how to steward the peace of God better.
Oh, we need to learn more about that.
We need to learn to steward the peace of God. So there's some things that you turn off so you can turn on the peace.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me an example of what you need to turn off. That's
Sometimes you have to turn this off to have more peace in your life. So
how does that work for you, Pastor Lynette?
I'm in trouble when she pulls out Pastor Lynette. So at times you just have to turn it off, or you have to put it by the phone, or there has to be a certain hour or 2 hours where you're not continuously ran by your email, your text messages, your voice memos, and all those things that come to not necessarily steal peace, but if there's something that you're going through, you have to purpose to have peace. And so you have to turn some of the other stuff off. And so I actually don't do it all the time, but I can tell when I'm getting too stressed out, too stretched thin, and sometimes I'll have to say, okay, and I actually have a do not disturb on my phone from 10 p.m. until I think it's like 8:30 in the morning. So until then, there's no disruptions unless I just decide to disturb my do not disturb.
Disturb yourself. That's good. And
so that's one example.
Yeah, and even if it's 2 hours sometimes, or, is something. So I think that's a good tip. I got to start doing that.
Yeah. So what are some things you can think of that are stressors or that could cause more drama or tension in your life then?
Yeah, I know definitely for me, well, there's so much connected to the phone, right?
Yes.
There's email, there's social media, like the phone is everything. But specifically for me, it's social media. You know, being able to tune that down or turn it off, or having fast from social media, because there's so much, like, life could be perfect in your world, like absolutely amazing. You're, I mean, you're thankful. You're like, oh gosh, thank you for this amazing life that I have. And then you get online, you're like, but wait, I'm not in Cabo right now like they are, you know. I didn't just sign this amazing contract like they did, but literally minutes ago, you were, it was the most blessed life you'd ever experienced. You were just feeling great, but you get online and you start the whole comparison thing, and you know, and it's that's what they're living, and there's nothing wrong with how I'm living or you know what you're going through, and so that can definitely stir up, you know, so, or bring lack of peace, I would say, and that's how I manage it. I know one of the things that was important for me this year is to really start taking a Sabbath, you know, because being an entrepreneur, like, there's always something to do. There's the
work doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. It can never turn off.
Well, your brain never turns
And your
off.
brain
When
never
you're
turns
entrepreneurial
off.
minded, don't you think? You're always thinking of the next big thing that you can be working on.
Yeah, and so, but it was important for me to, one, make sure I have a Sabbath, primarily Sundays, you know, just to, you know, if you want to talk about hearing from God, turn some stuff off. You know, to get more peace. You know, so and having a Sabbath, but including in that for me is the social media.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, I have to say, for me, you're gonna laugh. You're already laughing.
I don't even know if I'm ready.
I was gonna say, when you start with that, you've got to automatically laugh.
I tell you, the thing that stresses me the most, these are all good things, but people. And so I love people, but people stress me the most. And so, I mean, you know, what I've had to learn.
So we won't call you Pastor Kristi.
Right.
Don't call me a pet. No, I am not a shepherd. Believe me. I just get you out the way. My problem with the people is when I have a set of expectations. This is what I realize. It's really me. So let's turn the mirror. So I have a problem with people, but when I reflect on it, it's really me. I have a set of expectations that I hold myself to. But I've learned I can't expect to put my expectations on other people, because we all have our own list of objectives. We all have our own things that are priority. And just because getting my washer and dryer moved is a priority for me, doesn't mean it's a priority for the guy who's driving the truck who had 20 other orders of people. You know what I mean? So I've really had to learn to just say, I can't control you, but I can control me. And so I have tried to, when I find myself getting stressed, I know, don't pick up the phone and make that next call, because you're going to jump all over them no matter what they say. They can say, oh, sure.
And it's not their fault.
No, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Now, I will hold people accountable to if it is something that they are supposed to be doing, because I also think a lot of people just pass the buck. And, you know, I've tried to deal with some insurance things, and you talk to 4 different people, and they all say, call this person, then you call that person. You know, so you go down the road, call that department. You spend all the time on the phone. And so I've really tried to just say, okay, I'm going to do one thing today. So if it really stresses me, I can just deal with it, move on, and then I'll do things that aren't going to stress me out so much. But it really is more of a reflection than on me. How do I keep my peace? Like you said, how do I hold myself accountable and get that peace that passes all understanding? And that's literally what gets me through some days. I don't understand how I became peaceful in a moment where the rest of my family is like, oh, she's going to blow. You know, like they heard, did you just hear that? Look at mom, she's going to blow. But I've really had to learn, you know, I've had like my family physically put their chairs back from a table because they're like, oh, somebody just said something to her and that's not going to go very well. So we know how this is going to end. But I think that's a maturing thing. That's a wisdom thing. And I think that's my biggest stressor right now is other people.
Well, much like you, and I don't think for you, I mean, we joked, but it's not all people.
No.
So because the thing that you just described was a customer service nightmare. Which I can't stand. You can ask my husband, like, if we have to call service techs, that I do that as a last resort. I delegate that because that will put me over the edge.
Which is why
that is a stressor.
I need a personal assistant if you're listening. Yes.
Because that's a stressor. And so I know that's a stressor. So like you, I'll do it first if I have to. But if I can delegate that, if if it's something I don't have to personally do, I will make sure somebody else is doing that. Because my husband and my daughter are much better at that.
Right.
And it doesn't put them over the edge like it does me.
And
I mean, it sets me off for too long.
Right. And they're probably better negotiators. Like I know I can negotiate in a given situation, but when it's something like that I don't really want to be dealing with in the first place, I don't even I'm just not there mentally anyway. So I should have probably handed it over to someone who has a clear head, and they can just negotiate what needs to be done. And they're not emotionally attached to the outcome. That's the other thing. I think if we're emotionally attached to an outcome, that's going to steal our peace. You know, and we know the enemy is trying to steal our joy.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I've even had to say, enemy, you are not going to steal my joy today.
Right.
You know?
You can't have it.
You can't have it. It is not yours to have. Like, I have to do this self-talk thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just go down this spiral. And then everything. So the phone call with customer service set me off. Well, now I'm mad because my husband's going to come home late. And it's usually not a big deal. But today it's a big deal because I'm already mad. Because everything's a big deal. Yes. You know, and so I try not to have big deals. And you just, you rest in that. And you just say, hey, and if all else fails, you do what Melissa does and you go to a spa. So you're right. We could be going to the spa. Or you make your own spa day. If you can't go to a spa, turn your phone off, put some music on. But yeah, you have to have that peace. And the other thing I always think of is when non-believers are looking at us and we're just going off the rails, why would they want that life? Now, we're not perfect and we all do it. So I'm not saying Christians are perfect by any means. We're probably the least perfect people on the face of the planet. But it's because we know better.
Yeah.
And so how do we implement knowing better?
That's it.
And having that peace so we can reflect, did they see Jesus in my eyes?
Yeah. Well, two things I'm going to add to that is, one, I have not made the sign, but I've told everybody that there is a sign, that this is a drama-free zone.
I love that.
This is a drama-free zone. Yes. Because media has given everybody the impression, or it's programming everybody, that everything is drama. Everything is drama. And they slap reality TV on it. So they think that all the issues the Kardashians go through is real life. And they think Bridezilla's is real life. And they think the Housewives of Atlanta, whatever city you want to talk about, is real life. And
Orange County.
Yeah, and they think, the preacher shows are real life. No, all staged, all scripted, and all the non-drama-free episodes, they remove that out of, because that's not what people are buying into.
That's right. I was going to say, because that's not what the public is buying into. And
No,
so
they're buying into the drama.
That's right. And so how do we reverse that? We want people to buy into the peace. We want people to buy into the stuff that's going to last.
Exactly.
And the joy. And I don't think you can be all full of drama and be joyful at the same time. Like I've never seen a drama person be like relaxed. They're just the opposite. Exactly. And drama stirs drama, and
it snowballs.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
So if you're one of those people that thrive on drama TV, you need to turn the drama TV off, because it's feeding something inside of you to crave something that is against the biblical principle of peace. Because when peace rules, your relationships aren't full of drama. When peace rules, you learn to take the things off the plate, or to count to 10, and to do it with grace, and to calm yourself, and you learn some of those techniques. What are some of the stressors and the things that try to come steal your peace?
Oh wow. I don't have a lot of
stress. Pretty chill.
Yeah.
I love it.
Outside of traffic,
So yes.
Outside of traffic, literally, I have been known to go from Melissa, who just loves Jesus, to Melissa, like, do you go to church? I do have a church sticker on my car, I know, but I'm still feeling a certain kind of way right now, and I'm going to tell you what I think. So there is like this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde that comes out in traffic, but pretty much, there are some major things that have happened, in my life that I start to, but it has to be really, really like something major. Just day to day, like there's not a whole lot.
It's not going to set you off.
It doesn't. Yeah, I've always been like I would say a symbol of strength or a pillar of strength, like whether it was at work or amongst friends, when everyone else is just like, what are we gonna do about this? I'm like, this is what we're worried about, really? You know?
Speak to the storm.
Yeah, speak to the storm. And so one of the things, well, I can't think of major things that really cause me. I mean, I'll tell you what really gets me. It's the big faith steps. Day-to-day life, I'm good. You know, I could care less. The washer broke. Okay, we'll get it fixed. Or, you know, little things like that. It's okay. But it's when I really have to walk in and activate my trust in God, my faith in God, and there's this level of uncertainty of like, okay, I'm really gonna just trust you in this moment. I'm really gonna believe, and it's not just. I'm not just singing a song on Sunday in worship. I'm not just, I feel like that level of faith and trust is so, it can be easy when everything's everything, right? But when there's no net underneath for any, whether it's in entrepreneurship or whether it's, any step of faith that we take, that's when I would say my peace starts to get a little bit like, okay, God, what are we gonna do now, But one of the things I think about in the midst of that, whether it is traffic or feel like there's no net underneath me, it goes back to, I think the peace goes back to, the lack of peace goes back to knowing our position in the kingdom and also our relationship with God. Because when we really know it and can truly trust in it, then are we in control or is he in control?
Well, isn't that claiming our authority too? Claim our authority at what I hear you saying is over the situation. We know who we are. We know whose we are. And we just have to declare over that situation and then move on.
Move on.
So we're going to talk more about how you move on in those stressful situations right after this break.
Bye. Hi, I'm Kristi Lynn Olsen. Have you ever wondered what your purpose is? I want to invite you to spend 2 days with me in an intensive one-on-one life plan. And what we're going to do is really look into your purpose. And so I want to know if you know what your purpose is, but you don't know how to get there, or if you just feel like you're so busy that you can't get everything done. Spending 2 days with me, we're going to give you the key that's going to unlock the strategies that you need to step fully into your calling. And not only that, but we're going to give you words, we're going to give you things that you can do in the next 90 days. To me, that is worth gold. So I would love to spend 2 days with you. Go to KristiLynnOlsen.com and ask me about how to get your personal life plan.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Thank you for staying tuned with us. We have been talking about living a peace-free, a peace life, peaceful life, and being stress-free.
Stress-free.
Not a peace-free life. And I know some of these things about how to move forward in peace and turn off some of those stressors, because I think so many of us are feeding stress in our life and we don't even realize it. And I think one big thing is relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had to learn early on to distance some relationships because the people were too full of stress and drama and they would try to pull me in.
Well, and you have to remember, the Bible tells us to be peacemakers, not peacekeepers. And there's a difference, peacekeepers, we're just gonna don't say anything to Uncle Joe because he might get mad, or don't say anything to whatever. And so we try and keep the peace and we walk on eggshells. But really what the Bible tells us is we're supposed to be peacemakers. So we need to do what we need to do. If we have to speak to that person, we can. Now, sometime with family, we just have to bless and release. And friends, but to be that peacemaker instead of the peacekeeper can allow us, because once I've released that burden to Jesus and just say, Lord, I've done everything I can, I bless them, but I need to release them. They are yours, which they were his in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
But let's
Well, you know, we do take things from him sometimes.
We do. Oh, yeah. Let's take our Isaac off the altar. Yeah. So we take that off, and we keep bringing him back. But I think one thing that's helped me with what you're talking about, especially with family, is we just have to be the peacemakers, and then at some point release it and walk away from it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't love that person. It means right now we can't be in the same room. And I need God to intervene, so I'm going to remove myself from what this is. You know,
You know, and so many get the wrong impression of peace. And Pastor Cheryl Brady taught me this years ago. She said, being a peacemaker sometimes means that you declare war when the person tries to steal your peace.
absolutely.
I love that.
That's
I love
good.
that.
So, you know, people think, oh, well, I'm a peacekeeper, you know, I'm a
Yes.
peacemaker, you know.
Yeah.
But
Everybody
that
should love each
yeah,
other.
this is love and happiness. But that doesn't mean that you allow something to come in and steal your peace.
Absolutely.
And so when that thing tries to come into your home, come into your family, come into your career, you know, come into your finances, you got to say no.
Yeah.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I really love, you had mentioned about people, you mentioned about relationships. It's also knowing that everyone else's problem and emergency is not our
amen.
problem and emergency.
Amen. Yep.
Like, can we just, we're
Absolutely.
going to take up Olsen right now.
That's it there.
Because
That's
it's
key.
so true.
That's key.
And that
You know?
brings stress and drama when you're starting to take on burdens that aren't yours.
Or always continuously, depending on what it is, help them to solve the situation. You know, we have to be able to teach people to go and fish, you know, and teach them what they need versus enabling if they're coming to you with the same situation, the same problem over and over and over again.
Right.
You know, when
Yeah.
does it change?
Yeah.
You know?
The other thing I learned is a lack of planning on your part doesn't constitute an
Exactly.
emergency
On
Yeah.
my
on my
part.
part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we just
That's
have to
huge.
learn how to release that. And the best story I know from the Bible. So, you know we can get all wisdom from the Bible, right?
Yes,
The Lord
we
can
do.
download, but we can look back. So
Yes.
this is my favorite story about the Apostle Paul. You know, he was preaching on an island. I think it was around a fire pit or something. And he was preaching and trying to teach. And all of a sudden, this venomous snake jumped up and bit him. And the people were like, "Ooh, let's watch him now.
Yeah.
He's going to have to stop preaching. He's going to die." And he's like, "Nope, you just got to shake
Swing it
the
off.
snake." Sometimes you just have to shake the snake, and you have to keep on walking, keep on
Shake the
preaching,
snake.
you know, release the drama, exactly what you were saying. And I just thought that always comes back to me. And sometimes I'll even like say it quietly in my head. If something is bothering me, I'm just like, just shake the snake, Kristi, just shake the snake. And let it go. It's going to kill
Not
somebody
biting me
else. It's
today.
not going to bite me today. It's not going to take me out. No, I'm not letting any snake take me out. And so I need to shake that snake. And I think that's part of a human dynamic that we get caught into sometimes is all of that drama. You know, we all know people that want to solve everybody's problems, and I
Yeah.
think they go out looking for problems.
They
and
have
to
a need
stir.
to be needed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's not peaceful for them, and it's not peaceful for anyone else.
Yeah.
You know,
I have one more thing in reference to
Yes.
people in relationships.
Yes.
And this one is going to maybe sting for some folks.
Step on our toes today.
Right, but it was helpful. It stung when someone told it to me. But you know how I have maybe that one little pet peeve with someone of why do they always do this or why do they do that, or maybe it causes a communication gap somewhere, whether it's with a spouse or a friend or whatever. But then you have to realize, is it that they need to change or that you need to change?
it's a log in
That's
my
good.
eye or your eye.
Right.
Is it really your issue or is it
Yeah.
really
Really my issue, because what if they never change? What do you need to do to find your peace and deal with however they're wired, however God made them? If they never change, one, is it worth the relationship?
Yeah.
Especially if it's your spouse, it's something small, right?
Yeah.
Is it worth the relationship, the friendship? More than likely not. But is it worth any drama or stress that causes because you can't learn to maybe overlook or forgive or deal with or just move past it, So that was something that was really helpful for me. And just even going with some friendship things, like, is it them or is it me?
Yeah.
Like, at what point do I need to,
Yeah.
do something different or think differently about it? So.
Yeah. And everything that is a pet peeve and grates our nerves is not something that we need to draw attention to.
Right.
Sometimes we just need to get over ourselves.
I think, don't you think like 90% of the time we just need to get over ourselves?
Yeah.
Or we just need to find a new direction, like
Yeah.
redirect. I know
Yeah.
a lot of times with little kids, like I'm learning with my granddaughter, my son especially was saying, well, Mom, don't yell at her, just redirect her. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? She's dumping things on the floor.
Parenting.
Redirect. So now the joke in our house, redirect.
Redirect.
Like, show her this shiny toy instead. So she, whatever. So,
with the crystal china.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I was thinking of that, do we need to redirect ourselves? So I even, I'm just going to say, if you hear me say redirect, Lynette, redirect.
I got you now.
We just have to shift our focus because, is the enemy having us focus on that thing that he knows he can wind us up about? And be like a little child and just allow ourselves to be redirected by the Holy Spirit, you know. But that was the best example I've had recently of just redirect her. I'm like, okay, well, let's redirect her.
Thank you, Cortland.
Yes, thank you.
I think sometimes we put too much attention on the stress, too much attention on the drama. We allow it to take too much place and too much time and too much mental reality in our lives instead of giving that to God.
Yeah.
And it's like letting the enemy live debt-free in your head.
Yeah.
Not debt-free, letting him
Rent-free.
live rent-free, in your head, because you just allow that conversation, at least for me. And even if we have a difficult conversation with a friend, I'll go home and I'll replay. I'm like, you know what? It's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
What's said is said, and we got to move on from here.
Right, we have to move on, but we replay.
But we all find ourselves guilty, or even more so than replaying it. I practice it.
Before?
Beforehand.
Yeah.
So I am working myself up to have a conversation instead of just letting the conversation happen.
Right.
So either way, if it's too much thinking ahead of time, too much thinking after time, instead of just allowing the peace of God to rule in the situation.
Right.
And, instead of giving it so much reality, why aren't we just praying about it?
Yeah.
And then releasing it to God and saying, now you guide my words.
Or like you said earlier, you pray for wisdom.
Yeah.
Why instead a strategy do we not just go before the Lord right away and say, Lord, before I open my mouth, what's your wisdom in the situation? What's your strategy? Instead of trying to think it through, because in our soulish way, we're going to try and think it through. So I just think that's really important.
Because I don't know about you, but I'm pretty good about solving things.
Yes, women can solve all the world's problems.
So why are we putting God, okay, you are the plan B.
Right.
If I can't get this, God,
Yeah.
instead of doing like you said, let's just go to him and ask for the wisdom, ask for the strategy, ask for the peace to rule in the situation.
Or simply say, Lord, he's yours.
Yeah.
He's yours now. So he is, take him. And I don't mean that in a negative, but just say he or she, whatever we're dealing with, that's yours. Put the burden. My grandma used to always sing a song, all our sins and griefs to bear, all because we do not carry everything to the Lord in prayer. Because we're always trying to put all this stuff on our own burden, on our own shoulders. So. God has big shoulders. Put it on his shoulders.
I love that. And on that end, we're going to pray for you. Lord, we thank you right now. We thank you for these men and women that are watching. And right now I ask that you cause the peace that passeth all understanding to fill their mind, to fill their home, to fill their very being, their car, their workplace, and help them walk in peace and to release the stress to you. And we thank you right now, Jesus, and we praise your holy name, and amen. And it's been a good show.
It's been a great show. Yeah.
And we've got more great shows ahead for you. So make sure you tune in next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
Hi, did you know that I am a John Maxwell certified coach, trainer, speaker? And I'm also certified through Dream Releaser Coaching with Dr. Samuel Chan. Let me help you find the path to discovering your dreams and making your dreams a reality. Connect with me, message me for my packages details on how I can be your personal coach.